Welcome back to the Tasting Room, episode 11.
Whoa, is it 11?
It's 11, sir.
Wow.
Right?
Holy smokes.
As we were coming on, Austin was commenting on the bourbon that we drank, that it is very good, as was the conversation with Garrett and Austin from Cirque Coffee.
Yeah. When you're listening to this is a cool conversation because it's a little bit different than what we've been having.
If you're a small business owner, take out your notebook, and there's some nuggets in here.
They dropped some bombs and really answered the questions really well and shifted the conversation in a really cool direction.
They did. Let's just get right to it. Two guys from Cirque Coffee coming up after the break.
That's right. Cheers.
Hey, I'm John. I'm one of the partners here at Grassfire Creative. We are a production company. We do animation, video production, live production, anything you need to creatively tell both your story and your business's story. Along with the content that we create, we also provide the strategy behind how to get it in front of the eyeballs that matter to you. We're located right in the middle of the United States in Tulsa, Oklahoma, so no matter where you are, we're just a short flight away. Bottom line is we are very excited to both meet you and tell your business's story. Please do reach out to us one of the ways below via email or phone number, and check out more about us at our website, grassfirecreative.com.
Well, welcome back to the Tasting Room. We have two wonderful guests here today that I'm really looking forward to introducing.
This is physically the biggest podcast we've ever done.
Oh, yeah,
wow.
with two guests. Because we now have four people in the room.
We do.
Which is a definite first.
Yes.
We have Austin Fogt?
Fogt.
Yeah.
How many times has that screwed up?
All of them. All of the times.
Every time.
And
I've heard it all. You can't hurt it's fine.
Well, and I've said it so many times within the last 2 weeks because I was like, I got the Cirque guys on the podcast, and I was really and Jordan, your brother.
Yep.
So we have Garrett Odell sitting next to us, and I was like, Jordan, how do we say Austin's last name? And he was like, I have no clue.
I got nothing.
So it's fun.
It's like boat, but with an F.
I had a buddy in college in the broadcast department, and his last name was Fuchs.
Dang.
So it's
rough. That's really
that's is how you would say it.
Right. Yeah.
But he got called Fox a lot.
That makes sense.
So for the television, he changed it to FOX.
Oh, he was on TV.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
Whoa. Was that a legal change?
I don't think so. I think it was just a cosmetic one, just on TV. Yeah.
There's a university in Kansas that is literally called Friends University of Central Kansas.
Oh, wow.
Did they do that on purpose?
Remember the old hats? I don't know how old you guys are, but it used to be popular. There were the white hats that had, it would say Cox on it, and it was a South Carolina Gamecocks hat, or it was whatever. Yeah. That hat would have been money.
Got to stop at Lids to pick a,
right, absolutely. Yeah. But that fuck hat would have been awesome. That would have been fantastic.
Oh, my word.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to have fun.
Yeah, we are going to have fun.
You ask the first question. I'm going to pour. Hold on. I said I was going to remember, and I didn't remember. We had a gift from Tom and Megan at OK Bourbon. It's this stave, and it's set up for tastings. So you have 4 little glasses.
It's really cool.
Yeah, you can visit them at okbourbon.com, and that's also their Instagram handle.
It's like if you were wanting to have a flight of bourbon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Beautiful stave.
Yeah.
So you get us started. I'm going to pour.
Okay, sounds good.
It's a new one. It's a hand-selected Knob Creek barrel. They put a KC Masterpiece sticker on the back. Spicy caramel apple. So we'll see how much it tastes like a spicy caramel apple.
Yum.
All right, do your thing.
So for you guys, I just want to know what your relationship with Tulsa has been within the coffee world and how you've navigated it. And you guys have really changed. So that would be my question, but you guys have really changed a lot of the artistic essence of what coffee is within the Tulsa scene, but not only the Tulsa scene, I would say worldwide coffee scene. So,
Worldwide.
yeah. So I want to know what your relationship with Tulsa has been and what that journey's looked like.
Yeah, I think, we.
Cheers.
Cheers.
You can stop to drink. That's allowed on the tasting room. Yeah.
Let's get weird.
Beautiful.
Smooth nose.
Is it because I read that it was spicy caramel apple that I smell a lot of caramel on the nose?
Probably.
Yeah, I think I tricked myself.
I would venture.
That's
I
a-
would venture to say probably.
Yeah.
As far as Tulsa and our relationship to the city, so when we started and launched the original cafe in the Pearl District, I mean that part of town was.
It was desolate.
Desolate's a good word. It's a great way of saying it.
It was different than it is now, that's for sure. And like this place, the building across the street that's now Livy Lou was abandoned, dilapidated old building with garage doors, and the address was spray painted on one of the garage doors. And
Heck yeah.
Exactly who you want as a neighbor.
so, to see, and we were certainly not like on the very beginning of this, but to see the downtown area and the Pearl District grow the way it has as we've grown our business is something that we feel proud about and grateful for, that we've been able to be a part of that, of the growth of the city. And I think hopefully in most people's minds we have become a staple local
definitely
business.
have.
Like if you talk about local business in Tulsa, I do think for a lot of people we're one of those mainstays at this point, at least in the downtown area. And so that's been cool and exciting, and hope to continue that for as long as we can hang around.
I'll give you
Yeah,
credit
well-
too, because you said dilapidated. I feel like you guys are the reason that from Peoria to, I guess, nothing's left or somewhere. Like I feel like because you guys did what you did there and brought foot traffic and car traffic and just customers, right, to that area, that the Bramble would go in at the corner, and then all the things around you would start to happen. So thank you for going to that part of town.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate it. It absolutely wasn't the first choice. When we opened Cirque, I was 22 years old, and
Which, by the way, you guys opening that coffee shop at the age that you were doing it, wow.
we we made a lot of mistakes. We've learned a lot, but it was fun. But we tried to rent a spot out.
I'll get it.
In proper downtown and different spots, and every time we would try to go lease a spot from an actual broker or something like that, it was kind of like a get fucked. Absolutely not.
You're how old?
Yeah,
yeah, you're 21 year old.
What so far?
Huh?
I'm sorry, a lease? What's that?
What's that L word you're using?
And so we found this old crusty painter dude that basically was like, yeah, I'll lease you the spot over here. The building's in absolute shambles. You'll have to figure it out. I'm not going to put any money into it. But if you guys want to do it, you can do it. And we were like, okay, you're the only one that has said yes to us, so we'll give it a go.
So sounds good.
So you don't own that building, or do you now?
No, we
Okay.
don't. We still lease that.
So all
that
the
spot.
stuff that you have done inside of it was because basically you proved the concept?
Yeah.
Shout out to John, by the way. There's no way he'll see or listen to this, but shout out to
Our landlord
yeah.
is he's a real one. That guy is the man.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so I think the story for us mostly was we were passionate. I think this is the same for you in a lot of ways.
Sure.
We're passionate about our product, and let's do that to the best of our abilities and see if people are into it. And we never imagined it would turn out kind of how it has. But as far as a relationship to Tulsa goes, I think that it was mainly let's just do what we love and see if it's received well. And we've just been absolutely blown away by the response there. So, yeah.
Well, and going off of where you landed with your shop, I mean, one of the reasons why, we said yes to the building where we're at with our brewery right now was strictly because of, maybe not strictly, because we had a very similar issue. We got... we had a relationship with the city that was actually trying to court us, and then they were like, "Oh yeah, but you've got to spend $500,000 on sewage to get there," and we were like, "We've got 2 dimes to rub together."
Yep.
And and then we started looking for buildings, and you were right down the street and already turning the Pearl District into what it is today, and that got us excited to take a risk on this area.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. It's really easy to get nearsighted with that stuff and be like, well, we feel that way, but that's probably not the calculus that people are looking into when they're making decisions like that. But it's cool that
that was definitely within our decision within the brewery. Like when we had the opportunity to take over the building that we were like, well, the Pearl District is growing because of Cirque. We know that the Kendall Whittier is growing because of certain things.
Yeah.
And so we green-lighted it mainly because, and you were only there for what, maybe 9 months before we signed our lease?
I mean, I still remember walking down 6th with Garrett and John and come in and being like, let's see if we can walk into that brewery they're making down there and see if we can talk to those guys and see what's going on down there. And like,
and then the shenanigans happened.
I think a couple weeks ago, or after that, Wild Brew was. It
was wild.
It was very wild. It got a little rowdy.
Wow!
I think that was the first time I ever tried one of your beers. And then I tried a lot of.
Well, and that was
a lot of beers.
And that was definitely the first time that I tried your guys' coffee.
Yeah.
So we were both high on caffeine and really drunk.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I jumped the gun with the bourbon because you brought temperature-specific drinks.
Well,
so tell us what we brought and let's divvy some of that.
Yeah, so what we have here, this is just if you're a customer of ours, if you engage with our coffee and you don't make it at home, these are the 2 expressions of what we do that you're probably the most familiar with. We've got draft latte here, and then we've got Weirdo batch brew here. Weirdo was 2021 Good Food Awards finalist this year.
That's awesome.
So
Congratulations.
that was exciting. And then this one is especially in light of what we're doing here, this is a bourbon vanilla draft latte. So
I am going to bust out the other cups because
go
I'm going to
for
try
it.
a couple of those.
Just thought, this is the most used expression of what we do every day, and particularly with Weirdo, and Garrett can talk more about this, but the relationship that he has cultivated with the producers of that coffee and the business we've been able to do together is something we're really proud of.
I want to get into there. I'm going to start pouring out a couple of these too as I ask. But
by all means.
I think one of the things that sets you guys apart, at least to me, is the visual aspect of your shops now with the container, which we'll talk about. But I don't know how well we can see it here, but just the artwork throughout your spot and the Pearl, from the figurines on the tap handles to the stuff on the wall. Like, is one of you more artistic than the other, or where did you settle on your actual aesthetic and your look?
Yeah. So that has kind of been like an evolving situation for us from where we started to now.
Some of this stuff.
Absolutely.
But my partner that when we got acquired this in 2020, that isn't with our company anymore, John, he is kind of like the mastermind of a lot of our aesthetic. And then, that started with him and his expression of that. And then as time has gone on, when I would say have kind of more grown up as a company, we've like evolved that into a more, I would say, like focused, palatable version of that. And so it's a group effort, and we try to we like to think of it as like coffee and specialty coffee in general is really pretentious by nature. Like it just kind of is. And so
I think that comes out of the crankiness of the people coming in.
maybe, yeah. But we try to be as lighthearted and not take it as seriously as I think it's possible to. And we try in our art and aesthetic, like, to make that prevalent. So
yeah, the one thing I wonder, and please, like, let's have this. Correct me if I'm wrong. You guys obviously aren't afraid to pivot.
Yeah.
Right. To try different things, to go a different course.
Yeah.
Do you, when you have such a unique visual brand, do you ever feel it all pigeonholed into that look? Because it's on your coffee bags. It's on. It's everywhere. So to decide one day I want to go like straight matte gray or something, like it would visually just be so starkly different than what it is now. Do you ever feel pigeonholed into the look? Not that that's a bad thing. It's a great look.
I think because when we got acquired, as part of that process and moving into what we're doing with the container, we did some rebranding work. And so the idea is that the quirky, playful, colorful aesthetic, that part of it lives uniquely with each iteration of what we do in terms of location, or that's always that's always rotating or changing. We can engage with different artists that want to retain that heart and change what the specific style is. Like, you go to a different circuit, it looks different, while also maintaining a singular type of mark that holds the kind of singular brand integrity together, which the thought process was that's what the kind of circle.
Yeah, so you have the through line always.
Correct.
Yeah, and then you just play
that's,
around it,
that's
right?
Cirque, and then in any specific context, the playful art aesthetic can work itself out in a myriad of different ways depending on who we choose to work with in that particular context. And then we have a lot of resources still where there's lots of art that we have access to that we can use as we see fit. But that's the thought process. Is we've got now something resembling more refined, mature branding, but still kind of capturing and fusing that together with the art.
And I think with having John a part of our team for how long we did, like, he cast the net so wide to where, like, we have all of these brand assets that we can pull from that people haven't even seen before.
Have we seen all of them?
Maybe we haven't seen all of them.
I'm not sure.
They're locked away somewhere.
Yeah,
but
there's
we're
files and files. And,
we're really thankful for that, and having the chance to work with him for how long we did. He's just, the way he thinks about design and art is really unique and hard to find. So
every single time that I would see him working on a piece of art, I would always go like, so how close are you to losing your mind? Because he was doing $120,000.
Yeah, just really creative guy. He's got a special mind, I would say, in that realm.
Yeah.
You asked who's more artistic between the two of us. I think the answer is no.
We're not.
I think we're both pretty creative, but in an analytical, problem-solving type of way. Not a ton of art is coming out of these fingertips.
Well, art as far as what we drink. We'll just leave that. Did you guys do the branding study in all of, because for those that don't know, so this is like a brewer sitting across from you. Like, there are keywords being said here with assets and with all this stuff, and because of your wife. Just that whole world. So I'm curious, did you hire someone to do the branding research, or did you guys figure it out yourself? Like the market research.
I think, like, we had a lot of inklings that we felt were true, and then we did hire a group after our acquisition that kind of helped us focus on what we wanted, and that involved a lot of, like, interviews with us and our customers and stuff like that to point us kind of in a direction of, okay, I think this is a place where we're not totally pivoting and abandoning what has been really good and positive for our company, but pointing it in a direction that people can
Hold on, before you do that, just finish your sentence.
can identify us in the market.
I want to taste one after the other. So explain to me how where did the bourbon come into this?
So that was like when we first opened, kind of doing like a lot of the research and development of what we wanted on the menu when we first started. We realized pretty quickly, like, oh my God, every syrup is just sugar and water with things added to it. So like, let's add anything. We'll try anything. So like, one thing we tried that has been on the menu since the first day we opened is this, where we took bourbon, reduced it down, and cooked all the alcohol out of it, and just basically made a vanilla syrup
dessert. That's beautiful.
And so that's how we make that.
It's really nutty.
It is very nutty.
It's
Yeah,
a lot more nutty than I was expecting it to be.
Yeah.
yeah. I think that's from the coffee, like from the espresso.
Try the BV.
Oh,
You went back to the original. Yeah, that's why I was telling you don't to pour that one yet.
Multiple.
Yeah, so this is the bourbon vanilla.
Runs deep.
So while you're doing that, you mentioned. I'll just ask my second one, and then you can belly up to your
Sure,
second one.
we did that last time.
Yeah, I know we did. There's a couple places I want to go, but I want to start at the container. I love that idea. I just love container ideas in general, reusing things that are just there, right?
Yeah.
How did you come up with that idea? How'd you decide where to put it?
Yeah.
How the aesthetic of the inside, like that was a whole process. I love the app. I love all of it. Just walk me through the whole creative process on that.
So that primarily was born out of COVID, and I wasn't even a part of the company at the time where this whole idea started coming together, but I understand the story. So COVID happens, closed down for a bit, and then reopened the downtown cafe as curbside only concept, and shortened the hours, and started seeing being able to sell gallons of draft latte, and seeing strong business in curbside only. And Garrett, the wheels started to turn of, okay, the cafe's closed, we have less staff, and we're still seeing really strong comparable sales to what we were doing prior to
That's amazing.
closing
That you were saying
down.
comparable sales.
And what I understand, more profitability.
Yeah.
Less people, like that
So
kind
the
of
overheads, the cost and expense in that regard. Yeah.
And so he started to think about, okay, well, how do we take those principles and start applying them in a different way, in a more well thought out and optimized way? And we just started, because we remained good friends through the process of me leaving the company and coming back, just started kicking that back and forth and talking, tweaking ideas, and that just kind of kept progressing and then in that, I mentioned that to the gentleman who ended up becoming now our primary investor, and he was very, very intrigued about the concept of doing a shipping container, shrinking down, like we've got a small footprint, smaller staff, and then working in the concept of like having technology and an app that's handling a good deal of the customer service burden.
So had you seen the container elsewhere? That idea?
Concepts like that, I mean,
I think more like I had seen shipping container modifications where like someone might have a bar. I think like Left Hand Brewing has like a shipping
And
container
even Boxyard,
bar,
just
Boxyard, stuff like that. And so like it wasn't this like revolutionary idea. It was like I've seen that, and like that footprint, one, is really small, but then also like you can do it in a way where you drive by it and you're like, what the fuck is that? That is so cool. And so like the idea started with that, and then our new partner is in like construction and real estate development and stuff like that. And so he has a team of architects, and so we brought the idea and made our first rendering, and we're like, that is it. And then we had to find a group to build it and stuff like that. But it mainly started out of, okay, we can, if we don't have to do hey, what's on the menu? What do you like? What do you not like? Like, even if you think about going to Starbucks or whatever, like, there's so much time wasted from a person deciding what they're wanting, going, paying, and then the time for that drink to get made. And all of that has to happen so quick. When you cut all of that out, the speed that you can work and sustain in that environment is like, the idea was, the volume can be really high, and that has proven to be true. So
yeah, I mean, the longest line that I've ever been to at the box is maybe 7 cars deep.
Yeah.
And when that happens, I'm like, oh, I have to drive all the way around the parking lot, get in line, tell them that I'm there, and then 30 seconds later, I have my cup of coffee.
Yeah,
it's not that long.
Yeah,
of a waiting process.
and like,
it's
we've
awesome.
gotten really fortunate to have like an awesome staff out the jump that has like adapted to our concept really well. But yeah, like it's really blown us away, just like how natural. It's a really aggressive business model in general, like making people download an app and place their order. And like, first time users, like, they go onto the lot and they might not have the app. And so now they have to download it there.
Have people said no?
Oh yeah.
They're like, no, I just want to order.
Oh,
like
yeah.
right now.
Oh yeah.
Like, I don't want to download an app.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Is the customer always right in that regard?
Well,
like, do you let
that
them
was,
do that?
I
Yes.
think,
Okay.
But also, no, at the same time, they can be right.
Yeah.
But that might just mean, in some instances, like, if you're truly unwilling and not interested in the way that we've structured this, like, we're not the right coffee
there's
shop
other
for
coffee
you,
shops. Right.
probably. And you know, I don't think that's a hill we're wanting to die on. The thought process there was, look, we don't know if this approach will work. Starbucks cannot find that out. Starbucks cannot pull the plug and go app primarily or
Right.
only. They've got responsibility to shareholders, and they've got hundreds of thousands, millions of customers who are used to getting their coffee in a certain way. Like, they can't do that. We're trying this, and we can do the experiment of finding out, if we do this, will it work? If we say you have to do it this way, will it work? And
I think ultimately, like, we understood, if it does work, we have a shot at something really investable. And if it doesn't work, that is going to be a tough pill to swallow. But we kind of made that decision up front.
And it's such a great decision, though, because it's easily, you can replicate it.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you can add an app to any location.
100%.
You're first to the market with it.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you, John, how much stress was on the face of Garrett and Austin in the beginning of it.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because I heard about it about 9 months before it was actually, like, you were like, hey, I think we actually bought an ISO container today.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa,
did?
this is cool.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, like, the fear was in their eyes, because it was going to be app based. It was going to be something, which leads me into my second question of, it's more of like a conversation question, because, you know, I want the listeners to know how much of a cool thing it's been. You've said
Yes, please.
you have an acquisition. And though your acquisition is completely local,
Yeah.
and someone that actually really cares about you guys and is allowing your business to grow really well and allow you to be really, really creative and very inventive within your space, And so how have you seen the community respond to your boldness and acquisition, which to outsiders that seems really scary, but also at the same time that's like really cool and really hard to accomplish in most instances.
And sometimes vital.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to have it.
100%.
Right?
Sure. Yeah. And so how has the community responded to that? But also at the same time, I want to like verbally celebrate that with you because, you know, you say acquisition and it's almost a little bit in the back of the tongue, like, oh, no. It has a little bit of a connotation of like, oh yeah, we're going in this direction. But
well, especially in the beer world, you're talking about like when you say acquisition, it's usually a big Miller.
It's usually
Coors
AB
or someone,
InBev,
right?
And like,
it's not
yeah,
someone local.
Right.
And like that happens in coffee all the time
Definitely.
too. Like
Yeah.
like a Blue Bottle or Intelligentsia or whatever had these like
Stumptown was another one.
like hundreds of $1 million acquisitions to get rolled into Nestle or something like that. That's not
We're not on that level.
that's
yet.
not what happened to us, unfortunately.
Just to be clear, we're not there.
Yeah, I mean, I think like that was a really pivotal moment, I think, for us, where it went from this like really hyper focused craft expression of coffee to like, okay, this is a business now. If we wanted that to be what happened or not, it is in way of the demand of our product. And someone sees that and sees the validity of an idea that we have and wants to make that reality, like that is really, really cool.
Yeah, it really is.
It really is. And I think when you make products like this, you can get so focused on like, oh, we just got a bad review, or like this customer had a bad experience. Like, does our product suck or
Like,
whatever?
Are we even doing this right? Like, do people even are we replicating this bad experience and not even realizing it?
And like there's, I think, all this internal struggle in local business when you're just trying to do your best and make something that
You're trying to survive.
to survive and
Yeah.
make something that makes you happy and think that maybe that thing makes other people happy and they enjoy it. And so like, I guess like that's been kind of like the wheel for so long. And then when it was like, oh, I think we might have something here that's different from that, like it just brought a lot of hope to us, I think. So it's really, it was really cool and continues to be an awesome thing for us.
It's not something that we've talked about a ton with much of anybody, but except each other. And I think it's a pretty pivotal point, and definitely in the life of the business. But I think just for both of us as people, pretty pivotal moment, and we've gotten to experience a level of business and learn some lessons that we certainly wouldn't have otherwise. So it's been really cool. And so I don't know that the community it's hard to gauge like what the community's response to that is, just because again, like we haven't talked about it a ton. And so I'm not sure that
maybe that part of the question was a little bit askew, like
Well,
the community responding to the box. And
Sure.
The
I mean, that part has been super strong, and we're super grateful for that. So
I'm curious on a personal level, because we just went through the whole funding investor thing as well, and it's at the same time a relief because you have runway, right? Like you're not going to shut her up tomorrow if that was a concern.
Yeah.
But then there's just this added level of stress and pressure because not only are you having to perform for yourselves, now there's another person or multiple people or a group or whatever it is. If you're watching or listening, could be anyone that invested or a group of people. But it's just, I don't yet know how to deal with those emotions. I don't know which one I feel the most and which one. It's like a different day. I feel
If you're asking us to parse that out for you,
basically
you
be
are
my
definitely-
therapist real quick.
You are
But do
barking
you
up the wrong
experience the
tree.
same?
Oh,
Am I
yeah.
speaking to you and
Oh,
what you
yeah.
experienced?
Oh, yeah.
And like it at times can feel like that changes
By the minute?
by the minute.
By the end of this
and like
conversation, it'll have changed 3 times.
yeah.
Right.
I think like our primary investor, I think we hit the jackpot in a lot of ways. Like he is an unbelievable person and mentor. And so he communicates, I don't want you to feel that pressure. And I'm like,
Which is
okay,
awesome.
great.
But I still feel it.
yeah. Okay, cool. I'll try to do that.
Yeah.
Oh, you're being nice to me, and that makes me feel it even more. You're being so awesome.
I don't want to fuck up your world.
Yeah.
I've got to get this right.
But remember, I put $2 million into the company. I don't know how much money it was,
Yeah.
but whatever it is.
But yeah, that is a constant thing in the atmosphere, I would say, for us. I think it's healthy, honestly. Like it
Sure.
or maybe it's incredibly unhealthy, but for the
It's healthy
sake
for the business.
for
Correct.
the sake of the business, like
For
it
our
is
mental health, maybe not.
Yeah.
But for the business, yeah.
If you're in this world and you don't have that, you're either not going to make it or you're lying.
100%.
And so, yeah, you can choose to let it paralyze you, or you can, and this is, I think, what you're saying of it's healthy for the business in terms of, well, we're going to make the choice that's going to fuel us
Yeah, it's a catalyst
getting
for
shit done.
Right,
and
exactly.
we're not going to fail because of this doesn't stop, and we're going to use that.
We actually had
Yeah.
that conversation in our meeting room
Yeah.
yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, one of the partners, not to pull the curtain back too much, but, we're less than 2 years old. So there's processes and there's things that we haven't exactly figured out, ironed out yet as a business. And it was voiced as a concern of like, are we ready
to take
to take this? And then one of the other partners said, well, we have to use this as a catalyst to get that done and to figure that out. So view it as a good thing. And that's what we ended up agreeing to and going with. But you're right. I mean, it can either paralyze you and you're fucked,
Yeah.
or it can, spur you on and push you forward.
Yeah.
And that's what it's done for you guys. So
Yeah.
that's awesome.
I think
So far, yeah. I heard a beer can.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna open it up, and so the reason why I
pass
brought
over.
this beer, and I've brought this beer to the podcast before. I think maybe the first one.
I
that
think
we
so.
Had.
Yeah, the Kolsch.
But this has a special place in my heart, especially with Cirque, because this would be the first beer that I introduced you guys to.
I also think we get a case every other week or something.
Yeah,
It's,
and
I
I apologize. I need to bring another one.
no, it's no apology needed. No apology needed.
Yeah, so I remember brewing. Here, cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, boys.
Because our journeys, especially for me with you guys, started with this beer, and friendship started with this beer.
Love it.
So this is mushy feel
Sentimental.
good. It's sentimental.
it's still good.
It's
I
tasting good
appreciate
as
that.
ever.
As
Yeah.
always.
But I remember driving my truck down and being all excited. I don't know if it was in growlers. Well, it would have had to have been in growlers back then because we didn't have a canning line at that point in time.
Yeah.
And going, guys, tell me, really, is this okay?
Yeah.
Is
Am I
this
going
is
to
this
go
a
out of
good
business
beer?
or is this good?
Yeah.
Will you drink more than one?
Yeah. I think we did.
And I think we all did.
I think we all did.
That sounds right.
I didn't loop you into the investor and that stress conversation. Do you have anything to add to that? Like,
So
do you,
I can add some
I
to
was
that.
just turned
And-
this way.
No,
and
you're
not
good.
Bringing you in.
So I'm on the complete opposite end of that because Lisa and I and my mom are the owners of Cabin Boys. And then the only other business that I am associated with would be Strength of Mind, which is a mental health office in Tulsa and Claremore. And my mom is the sole proprietor of that business, and I'm just on the board and help run it. So I've never had the relationship of investor, creator, a business mindset. And so for me, I'm really curious because, maybe this can be like a half of a question sidebar. And you've asked questions of me on the podcast. So does that, I really want to know, like, because Lisa and I have been approached by investors and this, that, and the other of people that want to put into the brewery or get into it because they're excited about beer or they know that the brand can go further. And we've turned down most of them.
Yeah.
Because the track that they were wanting to go just didn't match up, or but also at the same time, and this could be my own undoing, is what does that do to your mental state of creativity? Does that like allow you to have more avenues and freedoms of creativity, or does that actually hamper the creative part of your brain to take risks? Because for me, if I was in that situation, I can only project what I could think what would happen, and I would err on the side of decisions that would be less risky.
For me,
Which for you guys,
what about
Cirque,
for you guys? Go first.
You went super risky. So
I think that totally depends on who the person is and what the scale is. Like if you want to open up 100 cabin boy breweries or tap rooms around the country, I would imagine your creativity is probably going to get taken away. They're going to say that's going to look like this. That's
There's not much creativity in McDonald's.
100%, and like that's $100 million or whatever it is. Like there's so much at stake there. But I mean, like that wasn't. It's interesting. Like, yes, the risk was really intense for us, but it didn't ever feel that way. Like the option to have creativity and to do what I think our investor thought we did best was always like a pivotal piece of the deal. Like, I think if it was we want it to look like this, and this, I don't think we would have done it. Yep. Like there's an element of like why we are where we are and why you're at where you're at because of you and the person behind the company. And if someone's trying to take that away, the deal either has to be really good and advantageous for you, or like, I don't know if I would have done it or been bullish to do it.
And then there's just the element of, if this is a person who, like, any investor is going to have opinions. They're going to want to,
and hopefully they care about you.
they're going to want to have input. I think if this is a person or a group where there can be honest dialogue and pushback and or however that looks, feedback moving in both directions, then anything's on the table. I mean, I feel pretty confident that when we said to our investor who's opened, drive-through concepts in some of his other ventures in the past, and we said, we're not going to have a menu board because we only want people to be able to order from the app. I know on some level he was going, you guys are insane.
He hung up the phone.
And this is not going to work.
Well, I remember like he said to us, like, I didn't think that was going to work, and I was prepared for it to not work.
But that's a good investor.
Really good investor.
Because if he said that and knew that internally, but didn't put that
and
in negativity onto you guys.
He let us own that and own the success or failure of that, which we were prepared to do. Like, if it failed, we weren't going to be like, well, here's the excuses.
You told us that. Yeah.
No, that and so as long as everyone in the room is willing to own that, I feel like you can accomplish pretty much anything. If there's anyone I should say, if there's anyone in the room who can't operate like that, it's going to be pretty tough.
And to answer the
gonna be pretty
creativity
tough.
part of your question, like for me, it's really hard to be creative if I'm stressed, right? Like if I think each person's different, like each palate's different, like all that, but I probably can't even really be creative here. Like I have to get away, go somewhere, whether it's a coffee shop, whether it's a bookstore, whether it's my backyard, wherever it is, and just be able to focus without my mind being squirreled off and drawn in 500 different directions, right? And so if an investor, if money comes in, if a group comes in and takes away some of the stress of being an entrepreneur, just that every day, gives you more runway, just alleviates some of it, to me, that opens up the creativity a little bit. It's if they get overbearing or that I could see it being a hamper to creativity.
Oh yeah, right. And like there's such a dollar and cent reality to owning a business where like, yeah, if you don't have any sense of security other than what you sell or produce, it can get really, really discouraging. Yeah.
Which we've cut our teeth on experiencing that.
Well, and I've seen that, but also at the same time, your fortitude and your ability to smash through those kinds of walls is, especially from people your age, extremely encouraging. It encourages me because we at the brewery have had to smash through many different walls. And I come in during the morning and you're like, so how's the pain level? Yeah. And it's normally like, and we go off of a 1 to 10 ratio. There's been times where I'm like 13 and you're like, yeah, I'm in a 12. Yeah.
Cheers, buddy.
It hurts real bad right now.
And then, sometimes we walk in and we're both at a 6.
Yeah.
And, I really appreciate those moments.
If you're much below a 6, you're lying.
Yeah.
As a business owner, that's probably
human beings.
Six is about as low as it gets for a business owner.
Yeah.
I think.
Or in the COVID days for a human, probably.
Man. Yeah.
It's somewhere there.
Yeah.
I'll ask my last question, then let's pour this and talk about this.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
So I'm curious. I mean, the creativity we've talked about, and so you took something to a different place where it hadn't been before. Where can coffee go as an industry that it hasn't been yet? And that might be an impossible question to answer. I don't know if you can. Is it, you talked about going to Guatemala and all that. Is it finding places and relationships that maybe they're not known for their coffee, or maybe it's a hidden gem? Is it something like that, or is it just educating? And not to talk shit on Starbucks, but is it educating people that, hey, when you're not making it in that big of quantities, you can have a really just great experience with a cup of coffee. Yeah. And finding other creative ways to get it to people, like the containers and stuff. Where do you see the industry going? I know that's a big question.
It's interesting because I think we're seeing really significant growth in kind of diverging directions, and like Starbucks is not slowing down. You're seeing companies like Dutch Brothers. We just had one open up here in town over at 51st and Yale. That's a company that's mostly a drive-through only concept that is expanding really rapidly. But then you've also got companies like ours and companies throughout the region and the country that are smaller, that are growing and trying new things. And there's a growing sector of coffee drinkers that want a more elevated quality experience at the same time that these large entities are also growing.
It's almost like craft beer to
correct
the Budweisers and Millers and all that, right? Yeah.
And so I think that is, not to be too cliche here, but like I think that's the opportunity that we see, is that we think that what we're executing in terms of our concept at the Container is, at least today, the best melding of those two worlds that exists. And so that's what we want to see the industry be moving forward. high degree of customer service, high degree of quality, high degree of convenience, all of it. Deliver on all of that and not have to make a choice between, I'm going to go here and get this expensive, slow cup of coffee that's awesome that maybe the barista's an asshole to me because he's pretentious, or really more convenient and affordable, but it's just not good.
Right.
I will say this with my relationship to your company, I've got two different points of perspective, which is both of them super cool. And it goes off of that point of, so usually I'm waking up in a hurry because I like to sleep in. And I try to get to the brewery around 8. And I know that your shop is not open until 9. And so I order my cup of coffee on the app when I leave my house. I'm in my truck. I press on the app that I'm there. My coffee is in my hand, and I'm at the office or at the brewery within 10 minutes of leaving my house. And that is amazingly
It's really
cool.
powerful.
It's extremely
I do the
powerful.
same thing leaving my house coming to the studio because
Yeah.
I have to
Yeah.
drive right past it.
It's extremely powerful to know, like, hey, I need my coffee to wake up. I know that it's there, but I also love the dynamic of your company because I can have that experience of get it. I'm at the office. I have something of high quality because every single time that I have a cup of coffee at your place, I think there's only ever been 3 times that I've ever talked to Isaac or someone at your shop that like, hey, I think it missed the mark this time. And he was like, oh yeah, definitely. We've had a issue with the grinder today and blah, blah, blah. He was like, thanks for letting me know, but we're already on it. But I also can come in and have a business meeting
Yeah.
and get a fancier cup of coffee, slow, and sit down with someone. I love that dynamic. I know that I'm going to have the same quality, either extremely fast or be very relaxed.
Yeah.
It's really, really cool.
Yeah, and that's like a big question we have bouncing around right now is like, we'll be moving into different markets as
one do
time.
you do?
Yeah,
Yeah.
what do we do, or do we want to do both, or whatever? Because that dynamic is legit. Like it people like that, and obviously, like we built a business around that. But yeah, I mean, it's really interesting from like where we started and where we're at right now with this new concept and venture that like it is a very distinct difference. And I think that's something we work on every day is like, how does it feel like the same company? And like, how do we strike that?
I would say for me, as a consumer, the through line for you guys is your consistency of product.
It's quality and consistency of product. Yep.
Because when I get the weirdo bash brew at the box, it tastes exactly the same that it does at your shop, and I have zero doubt in my mind that it's going to taste the same and wake me up.
That's
just
cool
as
because
good.
there's so much nerdy shit that goes into
Oh,
that being
100%.
like.
I'm going. I mean, it doesn't taste exactly the same. But it's like, oh, okay.
You're actually wrong. Austin. It doesn't. Yeah.
Well, so on the same level, I know that this can of Kolsch doesn't taste exactly as the same as
this-
last month's can of
this
Kolsch.
bad, different bad.
Yeah.
Same thing.
It's
I
funny
drink
though,
it day in, day out.
the quality and the consistency conversation is why I was really excited to see you guys try to do the cocktail program.
Yeah.
Was the decision, is that still, I haven't,
No.
okay, I didn't
Rest
think
in-
so.
rest in
Rest in
peace.
peace.
Yeah.
Was
RIP.
that decision just
Pour one
because
out.
you wanted to focus on the coffee?
It primarily was like we wanted to get into that because we were remodeling our shop and that was really expensive, and like we built out a roasting facility to be able to support like I mean, like we decided we wanted to roast, and Austin handled a lot of our wholesale at the very beginning. And I'm sure this was the same for you guys, or maybe not, but like, you know, we're talking to these small cafes that are like, hey, you want to serve our coffee? And it goes from 10 pounds of coffee or 1 case of beer to 500 pounds of coffee and 500 cases of beer to 1,000 or whatever. And then you have all of these constraints and obstacles that you got to overcome to be able to support that. And so you had to build a giant ass walk-in fridge. We had to build a wall in our fucking shop. And so like when we did that, I think our thought process was, okay, if we're doing that and we're going to spend the money, how can we add revenue to that spend? And kind of the lowest cost option. So we were like, maybe we should put it in a kitchen or a bakery or whatever. And kind of like the lowest cost option that we all really like. We like alcohol a lot, still do.
Cheers.
We were like, maybe we'll try our hand at a bar. And that mostly went really good. And then I think like for us, COVID hit and it was like,
sledgehammer to the head.
100%. And then it was like time to
Multiple sledgehammers to the head.
Yeah, it was time to re-up our liquor license. And we were just like,
Which isn't cheap.
it's not cheap. And it was like, okay, well, we're launching the container, like the acquisition happened. Let's just punt on that and move forward in this direction.
Business idea. Now that we can sell canned cocktails, your next
Container
container can be canned
App-only
to go.
cocktails.
Boom. You're welcome.
Love
You're
it.
welcome.
TM.
TM. Right. TM. Yeah.
Alcohol can be sent through the mail in Oklahoma now.
Well, that's good to know. I'm about to send some beer off to Wisconsin. I was going to try to hide it.
I'm shipping barbecue
No,
sauce.
If they stop me, I'm going to say Austin McElroy told me so. Like, go knock on his door. Calvin
He's
voice.
the one you want.
Yeah.
This is 2 cases of hot sauce.
I'm sorry. I might be jumping the gun on this because I know.
I think it's one of those things that's been passed but not enacted or something weird like that.
Maybe.
Like the sports gambling thing, which I do.
Sure.
I think you should.
Illegally in Oklahoma,
I think you should
guess.
just go ahead and ship alcohol and not ask any questions.
That's what I do. You put a package of Tic Tacs in there, so if they shake it sounds like Tic Tacs.
Yeah, yeah.
You send it off.
Clearly no liquid in here. It's rattling.
Exactly. Right.
Liquid
it
can't
works.
rattle.
Before you ask your last question, what did you bring in the growler, sir?
So,
which also, by the way, you have to take this with you because you've now left 2 growlers here, and I don't know what to do with them.
You could fill them up with water.
Fair.
Maybe.
I took one home, and there's one still over there on the counter.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. I'm saying
I'll
2's
take-
enough. 2's enough.
No, two's
Yeah.
enough. All right. Well, okay. So this is cool. I'm bringing our winter Bach, which we just released today,
Love it.
which like an hour ago. And so winter Bach, or the name of it's winter Bach. It's just a Bach beer, which is in German speak a dark lager, which unbeknownst to a lot of people is basically an Oktoberfest with coloring.
Love it.
And so it's a way that we could
Repurpose the.
yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Amazing.
So if you're listening to the podcast, you're going to be the few that actually know the secret to this beer. We had a distribution mishap. We had 10 barrels of Oktoberfest still in kegs. We slipped that into a bright tank, put a 100% organic malt syrup, coloring syrup. So it's 100% malt content. It's nothing else. And it colored it to this content.
It's beautiful.
And
It is a very
it's awesome
beautiful
because
color.
it made it a little bit more caramely, just a hint of roastiness. But it's exactly what a Bock beer is. A Bock beer is going to be very malt forward, no roast content. Like if you have any kind of ash flavoring in a Bock beer, it's going to be discounted as a Schwartz beer. So a Bock beer has to be completely smooth, malt forward.
I do like
no
Schwartz beer too, though.
Yep.
It's a good beer.
But if it has that ashy chalkiness to it, it's a Schwartz beer. The Bock beer has to be completely smooth. No, it can't necessarily even have chocolate. It has to be like caramely sweet and have this color content.
If it's chocolate, does it become porter?
No, because this is a lager.
Okay.
Yeah, Bock beers are lagers. So it was a fun mishap that we had those kegs over from Oktoberfest and had to force it into a new beer. And, you know, that was just my creative moment of like, well, let's just turn it into a Bock beer because I want to keep drinking this beer and sell it.
The Oktoberfest does really slap.
So this is
does.
like the darker brother of the Oktoberfest.
Love it.
Huzzah.
So cheers,
cheers.
everyone.
Another cheers.
Another
The
cheers.
most cheers on a podcast ever.
I like it.
Love it. What was the beer that you had where you were like, holy shit, I think I love beer?
That he made or that he
No, just like
consumed?
what was the moment where you were
What was
like,
the
I
moment
think I
that
want to
was
make
gonna-
my own
I
beer.
want to make beer.
I'm going to turn that question around on you guys too after he answers.
Okay.
Oh man, you know, no one has actually asked that question of me.
Was it a goose?
I'm a great podcast host.
You are.
Yeah, thank you.
It was a really
Thank you.
good question. To be fair.
Okay, so I don't think it's one answer, but I think it's just the love of the experience of drinking beer, not getting drunk or anything like that, but like having the memories around beer. So if I could go back to one specific beer that like really has a thread within my history of beginning to drink beer, would be Lion's Head, which is out of Pennsylvania.
Interesting.
And it was cheap. It was 6%. And this isn't the beer that actually got me into brewing it. But Lisa forced me into a hobby back in the day, and I knew that I loved to drink beer. So, and that beer being in mind, Guinness being in mind.
Yeah.
I honestly, at that point in time, had only ever had Prairie, Coop, and Marshall craft beer. Like I was a noob when I started homebrewing. And so I started homebrewing because I knew I loved beer. I knew that the craft beer industry was cool, and this, that, and the other. So that would be my answer.
Lion's Head.
Lion's Head.
So before
Love
he
it.
wraps up with the last question, we'll let you go. For you guys, was it a cup of coffee? Or like how do you
You probably have a more.
I do. I have a very defined.
you remember the moment?
Yeah.
So tell us.
So like I started drinking coffee because my now wife worked in a coffee shop and I hated coffee, but I went there because
That's
she
cute.
was there.
It's so precious.
right?
It
Is it
really
not?
is precious.
It's
Really?
really
now
precious.
now you
Yeah.
run a successful coffee shop.
or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a real Jim and Pam moment.
Oh, it was, wasn't it?
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you have like awe sound effects?
I'll put those in for you.
And so was doing that, and then you start drinking coffee, you get addicted to the caffeine. So I was continuing to drink real lattes with syrup in them for years and years, or not years and years, but a stretch of time. And then she and I were back in my hometown in St. Louis, and I had all these buddies who swore by this coffee shop called Blueprint that's still operating there today. And we were like, you got to go. So I went there, looking at the menu. I have no idea what I'm looking at. And I ordered, so I was like, I don't know what this is. And they brought out, it was a pour over. I think, if I'm remembering correctly, I think it was from El Salvador. And they brought out a metal tray with a mug, and then with some coffee in it, and then the rest of it was in an Erlenmeyer flask and a biscuit and whatever, and there's a black coffee, and I was like, I am unbelievably disappointed that this is the result of what I just ordered. And then I started drinking it. And
I waited 15 minutes for this.
Yeah. Well, because I was like, I drink lattes. I want the sweet. So I have this black coffee. I'm like, all right, well, it was $5. I'm going to drink this. And I started drinking it, and it was good. That like they didn't. I think they were at that time an establishment where it was like no cream, no sugar. Like, so I'm drinking it, and I'm like, this is black coffee. Tastes really good. I'm into this. And then because I am the way that I am as a human being, I had to go 1,000 miles an hour down the rabbit hole, and the rest is kind of history.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think for me, I was really into coffee, but I think starting Cirque was more of like, at the time I thought like, oh, I really want to get into business and owning my own business and stuff like that. Which was the general temperature, and then that grew as time went on. But when we first started, we started as a multi-roaster, so we just bought coffee from different roasters and brewed it in the shop.
Did you ever have Onyx?
We never served Onyx.
Okay.
Yeah. I think at the time, like, they were in a couple different shops in town, and so we were like trying to be different or whatever. Yeah. But we got like probably, I don't know, which now I'm like, this would suck on our end, but we probably got a couple hundred roasters to send us samples and cup through coffees and brew coffees and stuff. And so at that time, I think primarily I was like, wow, the difference from like a washed Ethiopia, even from a different region, but just that from like a Guatemala is so different. It's insane. And like tasting those every day for several months back to back to back was just like, I think for me, like a clicking moment where I was like, oh, wow, this is much different than, I don't know, kick-ass coffee at Reese's or whatever in the tin.
Can we play a game before you take us home?
Yeah, sure.
A game?
Yeah. Can you make
I'm
the
so
case
excited.
for a coffee snob being worse than a beer snob?
Ooh.
I think you're the right person to make that case.
Basically, anytime someone asks me, can you make the case, I get really excited.
Good. I'm the judge. I'm the judge. Convince me that a coffee snob is worse than you convince me that a beer snob is worse.
I don't know if I can win that argument.
You
but
might
I'm
not
gonna
be
try.
able to.
I'm
'Cause
gonna
I know
try.
both well.
I will give my best.
Worse in what sense? If I can be really difficult.
No,
So
that's
if-
okay.
So if we're
Make
talking
me think
about
it.
a heated customer talking about beer,
No, I'm thinking more the pretentious type person that comes in and wants to put their nose into the pour over and wants to tell you what you're doing wrong or whatever, or tell you that your grain bill is too high on this or like whatever, right?
Yes.
Like tries to tell you your job.
From like a customer standpoint.
Yes, from a customer standpoint.
Okay.
Which one's worse?
Do you want to open or do you want me to?
no, go for it.
Court is now in session.
I mean, I would just start with the point that many people are tolerable when they are sober, when they're not intoxicated. Few people are tolerable pre-coffee.
I think you just won the argument.
That's literally all you had to say.
Mic drop.
You don't even have to respond. You can't beat that.
Though I would say that the person, once they have alcohol within their system, becomes a lot more emotional.
Well, that's just.
I think
mean,
that
I can't argue that.
No.
either. Yeah.
I mean, it is plain and clear that when they get a little bit more alcohol, they get a little bit
Okay,
more
we're back
emotional.
on. We're back on.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so let's even draw. Let's tighten the screws on this argument.
Okay,
The coffee snob is worse at the beginning of the interaction,
they're cranky.
and the beer snob is worse at the end of the interaction.
I would actually
Oh,
agree
that-
with that. Yeah.
That's a nice.
So we're
tight.
zipping
Compromise.
it up,
Yeah.
zipping the bag up, and
Yeah.
we can.
Maybe I
draw
should have
at
left it
that.
alone because you guys had agreed that I won.
It's okay. What's the worst example of a? I don't want to call out your customers, so don't use a name. Don't use but like, do you have one at the top of your head?
A specific like request.
Or
That
just
was,
do you have something?
Yeah,
at
I
top?
do.
Okay.
I had
Bring
a
it.
person ask me to steam.
Wait.
You
No,
No, we can't.
come on. No, you know the real worst one. Come on,
Say it.
We can't do
come
that.
on.
one.
You have to do that.
You don't
dude.
have to say
You
names.
have to. Come on.
You don't have to say names.
I'm not making this up. This is a real story that
Okay.
happened.
Garrett almost fell out of his chair.
This is
is
really
what we're
good.
doing?
This is really good. This is worth the podcast.
Yeah. So I had at one point in time I was working a shift, and this person comes in and orders coffee, whatever. I can tell this person's a little off just from the beginning of the interaction, whatever.
I go in a different direction.
It was more like eyes like
Yeah.
really
Really intense.
Intense.
Yeah, really
Okay.
intense. This person orders their coffee. I make them their coffee, take it, put it on the bar. They're sitting at the corner of the bar. I put it there. Yeah, enjoy. Thanks so much. And then I go about my business for about 10 minutes. And then this person beckons for my attention and opens with, I'm not making this up. So I'm going to be donating my eggs soon.
What?
I've never seen this human being before in my entire life. And
At what point your eyes are now?
yeah, now my eyes are open, real wide. And I'm wondering what kind of qualities you might be looking for in a potential donor type situation, and then pulls out her phone and starts scrolling through photos of herself. And I was like,
Wait, time out. What was she asking? you?
And how
I'm
does
not
this
really
pertain
sure.
to
I didn't-
caffeine?
I didn't investigate. As a married man, I spent no time investigating.
I thought she was going to ask if caffeine messes with the donation of
No,
eggs.
no,
she
it was
basically
so much worse.
asking me to gauge whether she was a desirable.
Holy shit.
And I said, I don't know. Bye. And then I went over to the guy who was working the shift with me, and I was like, oh my God, please save me. Terrible, terrible things are happening. So that's probably the worst one.
It's really tough to beat that one. That was a bad
Do you
one.
have anything comparable to that?
Oh my
I mean, not to
gosh.
that, but like a worse. You're leaning away too.
Sorry,
You're good.
Yeah.
I mean, you get,
That actually happened.
That for real happened.
I'm trying to download that.
that's unbelievable.
It is.
There's like 4 on the
so
top
we-
of my head that have happened like that in our shop. That
Like that?
that's the worst.
Okay.
But a walk away moment where it's like, I have to tell somebody what just happened because
Right
that
now.
is an
Because that-
unbelievable thing that was just said to me.
Yeah.
So if we're talking, well, okay, so there's 2 sides of the answer. There's the ridiculous person that's a beer snob,
Yes.
right? So you know
A lot of the neckbeards in Tulsa.
You can go down the line of like, we've got a 1-star review on the Yelps or Googles or whatever you call them.
Naturally.
And it's like great service, wonderful people, really
Ambiance
cool,
is great.
cool atmosphere. I think that they're doing a really great job being a brewery. But why would you ever have a Kolsch as a craft brewery on your menu? 1 star.
Yeah.
And you're just kind of puzzled, and you're like,
Let's be
I
friends.
don't
person.
know what to do with that because Kolsch is really great and it's
great.
awesome. But also at the same side, on that kind of a story, we've got Red Shirt Guy,
Oh, I'm so excited
shirt,
to hear about
yes,
Red
me
Shirt
too.
Guy.
Red Shirt Guy is a known person within our brewery that comes. He's a regular. He showed himself for the first time within a year. I think it was because of COVID. Maybe he's very conscientious of this, but Red Shirt Guy comes in. He's always very sweaty, got really greasy hair,
That's such a horrible thing to be known as.
I'm sorry.
He's just really sweaty.
It used to be that he wore a red shirt. This time, a year later, he was wearing a collared white shirt,
Oh no!
which threw us off.
He's
but we were like,
advanced in
"Hey,
society.
it's Red Shirt
collar.
Guy."
Just so everyone's clear, this is Red Shirt Guy.
Yep.
Yes.
Different colored shirt.
I know his shirt is white, but
It is Red Shirt Guy.
It is Red Shirt Guy. He is always strung out on cocaine, and it is prevalent. Like,
You don't have to be like, I
Driven-
wonder if
like-
that guy's
Does
on
he
cocaine.
look like Chappelle from that skit from the Chappelle show?
He comes up to the bar, and he's like, "Can I have a beer?" "Yes, Kolsch, please." And then he's like, "So, what are you doing to?" Yep. Understand. So how does and you're like,
Who are
I
you
don't want to
talking
be rude, so here's your Kolsch.
It's on me, man.
just
So
for the
I
love
know
of
that
God,
that's a
try
pretty
to hold
so-
it together, man.
You're in
and we
public.
just kind of
buddy.
stand back and watch him with wide eyes, and we're like, well, he's paying with cash. We're only going to serve him one, and then hopefully only one. So I know that wasn't as good as your story, but it has a through line within our
No,
company.
I mean,
There's
you had
one
a
more I
egg
have.
matchmaker over here.
There's a guy that comes in the first year we're open, and he's like, "Can I get a cortado?"
Solid drink.
Great drink. Love the drink. And he's like, "Okay, yeah, sure, I can make you a cortado." And he's like, "Okay, you use half and half, right?" And I was like, "No, we actually use whole milk, but the whole milk we use is like a local one, and it's really high fat content,
Gave him
whatever."
the whole spiel.
The whole spiel. And then he's like, "Oh no, I can't have that. I'm lactose intolerant." And then I had to explain to this guy that half and half falls under the lactose intolerant category.
My God, half and half
My
does
God.
contain lactose.
It's got a lot of lactose in it. More than milk. More than milk.
Believe it or
Mostly
not,
lactose.
you're going in the wrong direction.
Stop ordering half and half cortados if you're lactose
The
intolerant.
remaining
Please.
question is, how did he handle this revelation of life?
He was
that
like,
half and half has.
it was very, I don't believe you
Oh,
kind of situation.
I wonder if he is being elaborately pranked, and he isn't lactose intolerant, but he's been. Never mind.
Half and half guy, if you're there.
Yeah. If you're listening to this,
There's red shirt guy. There's
Red Shirt
there's
Guy.
egg girl.
I'm very sorry.
I think I might know Red Shirt Guy, by the way.
I think that you do know Red Shirt Guy.
I don't think either of you know Egg Girl.
Could you pick her out of a lineup? Like, is it?
Yeah, if
Is
there
burned
was
into
a,
your memory
you-
so much?
Yeah.
because that was like 3 years ago.
It was a long time ago, and I will never, ever forget that.
Yeah. I wouldn't either. I wouldn't
It
either.
was
then-
I
way
wouldn't
down the list of potential things that I thought might come out of her mouth. It was way down there.
Wrap this
And
up.
then-
Take us home.
All right. So, well, we do have Gail too at the brewery.
Oh, there's Gail. That's a great
And
Karen
we
name. Gail.
we have a song, and it's dun 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 dun. And she's sadly a somewhat homeless person
Yep.
that is riding a wheelchair that comes and steals our electricity for her cell phone, and also comes during our in October when we have candy at the brewery, and steals all the candy.
Classic Gail.
Gail just likes her
Classic
candy
Gail.
corn, man.
And she loves Hanson.
Oh,
She loves
Which is-
Hanson?
yeah. Which is really,
She sounds like a good hang.
yeah. And
For your
Let's have her on the
business, for your business.
podcast. Let's get Gail in here.
I don't know if we could string a conversation with her, but
Maybe
anyways.
not. Maybe not.
Oh my goodness! So
I'm curious where you go from here.
I don't know.
But land the plane. Bring us
I don't
home.
know- I don't know where I go from here.
We could just end it on those stories. I mean, unless you have
No.
a landing the plane question.
Sure. So the interesting thing about what we've asked in the past. So the cool thing about you guys is you guys with running Cirque, from my experience with you, is very business oriented, numbers oriented conversations, and I really respect that because it's really comforting to me as a business owner and friendship within that. Thank you.
I got you.
Within that realm, and I want to know, and this kind of goes back to a previous part of this conversation of, and it's hard for me, how do you balance the numbers of the business and the creativity of the business? Because you've got people within your organization that come to you and myself like, hey, I would love to make this beer. We have an open tank. Can we do it? And then you're looking,
Yeah.
nope.
No, we can't.
No, we can't.
Yeah.
So what is that relationship for you, and how, like, that for me has a strain on how we're going to influence the community within Tulsa. And so it's this kind of weird question of like, where does business restraint
and craft?
Yeah. How is that balanced within your business?
Yeah.
It's interesting. I think like there, even in how people tend to talk about that, is almost pitting them against each other in some ways, and like I kind of feel like it's a false dichotomy where the creativity gives us the opportunity, and what we do from a product standpoint and all of that gains us eyeballs and people that are interested in interacting with us and want to buy our coffee or whatever the case may be, and that feeds the business, and you need both, and so I think for us it's mainly about keeping. It's a lot easier for people to see the creative, product-driven part of a human who's operating a business as a human, and to see the numbers-driven like part of it as like cold. And when in reality,
They're both
you can't.
symbiotic.
It's all intertwined, and like if you
hard
can't
to
be a healthy
separate,
business, and we can't deliver on the creativity and the humanity if we don't do this part of it at a high. If we don't do the business and the numbers at a high level, and we can't grow if we don't do that at a high level. And so, if you want more of what we're doing, we've got to do that. Like nobody wants to debate about your small local craft business, should you be creative? Nobody wants to debate about that, but then there's discomfort in the numbers and businessy world, and it's like, if you don't have both, you're not going to be around. So if you want us to be around and we want to provide jobs and product and all of that, like they have to live together. So
I think for us, that's
a great answer.
Driven us more into who are people within our organization that understand what we're trying to do, that we can pass off some of the quality pieces to. Obviously, we want to oversee that and make sure that we're putting out a product that we're proud of, but like, who can do that so we can push the business forward like that's kind of how we've approached it. And so like we've been able, I mean, like we're really fortunate to have created some jobs for, obviously like we're not where we want to be yet, but like we're proud of what we've accomplished and the size of business we are. And we've been able to create some jobs for people that are good. And so like, I think ultimately like we never want to lose the craft portion of what we're doing. And I think if we get to a certain size, like that is inevitable, but we want to lower the ceiling of that as low as we can so that like we're proud of what we're serving, but we're creating livings for people as we grow. Because I think we both would say this, and even our investor has said this to us, like this isn't, the growth of what we're doing isn't about us and our personal gain. Like we think we can create something that is sustainable for the people that work for us. And so that starts with a good product. And, you know, we're pulled away from a lot of the growth of our business from that side of it. And that leaves us with having to trust people to withhold what we started with. So
Do you have an idea of where that ceiling is as far as meeting of staying craft and not getting too big, but then being big enough that you're happy with where you've grown? Like, do you know what that is yet?
We haven't hit that yet.
We're not there. I think it mainly, and I think we've accomplished a level of this. We've talked about this, but you set certain culture and expectations and just habits of this is what we do, and when we do that, this is a product that comes out, and it is really good. And we're not gonna change or budge off of that. And I think that sets you up to, even as you grow, if you maintain that, you have a chance to maintain a level of quality that you can be proud of.
Yeah.
So I think that's what we're trying to do. Of just like the day-to-day standard of what we do is the thing that comes out is excellence. And to the point where like that's not really, we're not getting excited about that. It's like it's just a reality of being here. That's what we're trying to uphold anyways.
Sure.
So
that's really, really good answer.
Yeah, it is.
So to my own question, like this product of, our winter Bock beer, that's a response to fiscally responsible and being creative and kind of almost even forced into creativity.
Yeah.
Because, hey, we have this beer that's not going to be sold.
Yeah.
And there's all this external stuff that we're dealing with like supply chain and stuff like that, where like the price of what our product cost to produce 3 years ago is drastically different than it is now. And so like, how do we reckon with that? What do we do? And like, we have just chosen like, okay, at least these few relationships that we have, like we really believe in this product, Weirdo, these 2 farms that we buy coffee from. Like we believe in those people, the producers, and the product. And it's just, I think the same with you, like Kolsch, we really believe in that product and we're not going to change that. And so now we have to adapt to the external realities of what the world is presenting and make it work. And like that, I think is real time, like issues that we're dealing with.
That is a manifestation of creativity that, and we've talked about this too, I think it's overlooked a lot. We want to talk about the art and the marketing and the videography or whatever. Not like those things are all great, but often it gets glossed over the creativity of okay, you have a bunch of kegs that you didn't sell.
Yeah.
You can't afford to eat that. So what are you going to do with that beer? How are you going to find a home for it? Like, that is absolutely a manifestation of creativity.
Like, I look at that and I'm like, fuck yeah. That like
That's the
that
stuff that gets us
is
excited.
business. Like
Yes.
that is okay. I could have thrown this away. And instead of that, like, I'm not serving something that I'm not proud of. Like, that's delicious and excellent.
I'm actually
Really
excited.
proud of that.
It's a
And
really
you
good
should
beer.
be. Like, and that's, I think, where local business is right now, is like, we have all of these changes that have happened as a result of whatever the fuck, COVID or whatever. And like, what are you going to do? Are you going to...
And the cool thing is like, for this beer, like our Winterbock,
Yeah.
it's keeping our list of beers up on the menu full.
Yeah.
Right.
When, you know,
It's, yeah.
It's keeping a blank space filled when the supply chain isn't necessarily allowing that to happen.
Yeah.
Which is pretty
True.
And if you aren't privy to these kinds of conversations or have run a business yourself, like that's a really unsexy reality of
100%.
It just
100%.
is, and you don't know that, and so you're just like, oh, you have such a cool space and your product is really good, and like that's great, but like that is special.
Yeah.
That's, to me, I look at that, I'm like, that's every inch, if not more, special than this is a pretty space to
I
hang
love your
out in
ambiance.
that makes
Yeah,
that
right.
makes me feel special. That's all well and
100%.
good, but like if you, and this goes back to what I'm saying about like it has to live together. If you have the pretty space and ambiance and that problem, your solution is I'm gonna dump this beer down the drain and eat however much money.
That's not the right
Clock's
answer.
ticking.
Yeah.
Clock's ticking.
You're gonna be out of business.
100%.
It's just a matter of time until you're done.
100%.
Yeah.
So
in the media world. Is there, because we use physical liquid to sell, right? And we have to store it. Is there anything in the media world that would retain to that same kind of conversation?
Oh boy. I mean, not from an expiration standpoint, right?
Right.
Like, you know, we have, I mean, I guess to an extent, right? So one thing that I push on our team to do is to do spec pieces and to do pieces that we're not getting paid for, but pieces that push the bar and get us to a place that we ultimately want to go, right? And a lot of times those get sacrificed for the smaller jobs, but the jobs that pay.
Right.
And ultimately, like, while that might be bringing money in, it's not making us happy and it's not getting us to where we want to go. So in a roundabout way, that's similar, where like you have to find the time and the space, both like physically in the time of day, but then creatively, like within your own mind, to work on the spec pieces and push the boundaries and do the things that you really want to do that really aren't being done in this city, in this state, in this region, which is akin to, if we don't do that, dumping the beer.
Right.
Right. And so that's the best I can come up with in like a roundabout way.
Sure.
But yeah, it's different when it's a tangible product that you're seeing
Yeah.
yeah,
like
Right.
flow down a drain. It's like, it's a little different.
It's
but
gone
yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we'll let you go. I know you got other halves to get home to. It's been about
we do.
90 minminutes of fun conversation and
Yeah.
thrilling stories that I'm never going to forget.
Egg lady.
Me either.
Yeah.
And-
Yeah.
Me either.
Right.
It's so fun to just sit down and reminisce of where we've been through. And
Yeah.
what we've been through.
Yeah.
And anyways.
Yeah.
Thanks
Appreciate
for coming
it.
on.
Well, when
Yeah.
you
Really
when you
appreciate
open that cocktail container to go, we'll
Yeah.
have you
we'll
back
let you
on.
know. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. We'll be right back after the break, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That is Garrett and Austin from Cirque Coffee, and one of the funniest stories. I mean, look, I get trying to pick up someone
But
because we all get
that was
thirsty,
forward.
right? But like
That was forward.
talking eggs and shit, like
Oh,
come on
man.
now, come on
Yikes.
now. But that was a lot of fun. Thanks to the guys for
At
hanging
least
out.
ask for your number first.
At least, right? Give me a hug, something. My God. But no, thanks to the guys for spending 90 minutes plus with us. That was that was a lot of fun. And if you haven't been to either of their establishments, I recommend, like Austin was saying, experiencing both. Go into the shop in the Pearl District, 6th and Peoria, basically, and sit down, have a cup of coffee, read a book, whatever you do in a coffee shop. Get on your laptop. But then when you're running about your day, don't go through the Starbucks drive-through. Get on the Cirque app. And it's just right there at the corner of the exit ramp from the BA in Utica.
Yeah, would that be like what, 14th
Roughly,
and Utica?
Yeah. It's just
Something like
north of the CVS that's right there on the corner of 15th and Utica.
Yeah.
So it's hard to miss. It's a big, isn't it like purple? It's a big purple container, right?
Big purple container that has glass windows. It's cool though because they have accomplished something that not a lot of other companies have with creating a consistency of high excellency and quality of their product.
They did do that. That was an excellent and high quality podcast, I will say.
That's right.
Yeah. And we'll be back in a week or two with episode 12. It's going to be 20 before you know it. We're going to be back out at the cabin. So
I know. That's right.
Get ready for that.
Very soon.
Good job, buddy. See you guys
Cheers.
next time.